Welcome to the fastest daf in town. Today, Masechtas Menachos daf Chav Tes. We are going to begin on Chav Tes Amud Aleph, the sixth line from the top. Amrav Goiva Shel Menorah Tisha Tfachim. Says that the menorah was 9 tfachim, which is kind of interesting because in yesterday's daf we mentioned that it was 18 tfachim. So Eisvei Rav Shimi Bar Chil Rav Evan Hoysal Lifnei Menorah. There was this stone or some type of platform of some sort that was in front of the menorah, and there was 3 steps. She'aleha kain oimed, in order for the kain to be able to ascend, umetivas anedis, and then he was able to light the menorah. So the obvious kasha Rashi it says, me'enu gavaya el test tfachim, if it's only 9 tfachim high, which again, if we're talking about 6 tfachim to an alma, that's 1.5 amos, which so 18. It's less than 2.5 feet. It's like only right. So lomali evan tachas akayin. But why do you need like a step ladder to be able to get to it? It's not that tall. So shimi at mikamina misvas kanim ulamalo. So basically, look at Rashi. Atahu hamakshali. You're the one that's asking me. So from the edge of the kanim up, haisa tisha, umin aretz val the kanim tisha partial el. So it's actually there was 9 to get to the break of the kanim, and then the kanim went up another 9. So the truth is, it was really 18, as we said before. Ksiv v'haperech v'hanerais, regarding the flowers and the areas which the candles were lit or the oil was lit. V'ha-melachim zahav, and the tongs were made out of gold. Hu michlos zahav. So he said that it was michlos zahav. So, and again, this is as Rashi says, this is pasuk. So my michlos zahav. What does that mean? Amarav ami shikilasei l'chol zahav sagur shel shloimei. It was liquidated to his as his top gold, which is zahav sagor, which is like closed gold. What does that mean? So that when you sell it, niskaros kol hachenvias, all the stores are closed. Basically, it was of the highest level of the purest and best gold. The Rabbi Yehuda Amarav Esther Menairas Asa Shlomo. Shlomo Melech actually adorned the Kodesh with not just one menorah in the south and then 10 shulchanos in the north. He actually made 10. And each one was 10 kikar of gold. And he entered it 1,000 times likur into an oven to purify the gold. Al kikar, and all that was left was the kikar, which again is the measurement, which means that it was highly purified gold. It says that when it came to all of the vessels for drinking of King Shlomo was gold. And all the clean of base yar halavain, that was zahav sagar. Ein kesav nechshav b'mei shloimei lo ma'uma. So how do we say this, right? Ein kesav nechshav b'mei shloimei lo ma'uma. It's not going to be worth much. So zahav sagar kaminan. So again, we're talking about zahav sagar. Okay. So mi chaser kuli high. Is it true that it could lose so much? How can it go from 1,000 all the way to 1? How is that possible that it could be minimized to such an extent? Mosan Rabbi Yosef Rabbi Yehuda Ma'is was a story. V'haisa menorah based on Mikdash Yisera al Shel Moshe, that the menorah, the base of Mikdash, was more than Moshe, but dinner zahav kurdiyukni v'achnisuhu pei pamim, and they put it 80 times likur into an oven. Again, Shlomo did 1,000 times. He put it 80 times. The Yimunu al kikar, and it became a kikar. The answer is kivan de koi koi. The reality is that once you do it a certain amount of times, says Rashi, Shikin Nisraf Yafe B'Yemei Shlomo Koi Lafika Chol Chaser Ashav Ella Dinner. So once it already was being purified, at a certain point, there's a certain amount that it goes. Why does it say the word pure menorah? That the your actions went down from a makam tahara. It says Rashi Mena Shemayim. Now, as it came, the menorah came from a holy place. Here, Moshe Leneged HaMenorah, because Moshe Rabbeinu actually saw the menorah that came from the Shemayim itself. El Miata El Shulchan HaTahar. So it says the word Tahar. So also he didn't tell me Shardu Moshe Mamakam Tahar. Right, that the same thing. They came from the heavens. El Tahar Machal Shehu Tameh. It just means it has the ability to become Mekabel Tuma. Hachanami Tahar Machal Shehi Tameh. Now, Bishul Mahasam K'nei Shlachish, Demei Shlachish Ma'nechsev Al HaShulchan HaTahar Machal Shehu Tameh. We know that the Shulchan actually could become Tameh. Why? Because Kliyet Hasul Nachas, V'chol Kliyet Hasul Nachas in Mekabel Tuma. So we say that when we're talking about the Shulchan, it's a Kli Eitz, in which is in one place. And kol kliyet asul nachas in mekabel tuma. So therefore, I can understand that. So Rashi says, "Gabi shulchan itzrach lashmi'inan." We need to tell us the chiddush de mekabel tuma, because you would think it's not mekabel tuma, because Reish Lakish says that this is not something which is moved. But as we're going to see, this is Gemara on Chagiga toward the end of Masechta, that it was moved. It was not asul nachas, which is why it's shach to become tuma. And shach to tuma, as we'll see in a second. But anyway, that's the chiddush that you would think maybe, again, it's a Pirchan Reish Lakish who says that it's shaykh to become, it's not shaykh to become tamei. No, it is shaykh to become tamei. Elo milalme, so fine. So Bishlam Mahasam Reish Lakish, Reish Lakish, Maxav Al Shulchan HaTorah Mechalal Shehu Tamei Kliyer Tasul Nachas Hu V'Chol Kliyer Tasul Nachas in a Mekabel Tuma. El Mulamin Shemagvian Oisan Lol Oil Reglayim, that anyone who would just come once a few times Pesach Shavuos and Sukkot. So this was a huge visual aid, a great tourist attraction to go to the Beis HaMikdash, and this was a great opportunity. Umareim lehem lechem aponim. We actually would take the shulchan out of its place so that the passers-by should be able to see the great miracle of the lechem aponim. Yarem lehem ruach chibaschem lifnei hamakom. See how much Hashem loves us. What, by showing them a shulchan with some bread? So my chibaschem. Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi. Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi, Nes Gadol Nasa B'Lechem Apanim. It was a great miracle. Siluku Kisiduroi. The way that it was removed was the same way. Normally, bread, after a day, you go to a store and the bread's half off because it's not fresh anymore. But when it came to the Lechem Apanim, the freshness always remained. Shener Melosum Lechem Cham B'Yoyim Hilachoi. So the bread was always fresh. It was always hot and warm and delicious, even a week later. So we can understand. Why does it say the Shulchan HaTahira? Because it could become tummy. What do you mean? How can it become tummy? It's a Kli Asul Nachas. It's a Kli Eitz Asul Nachas. No, it's not, because it is moved. So it is shaykh to become tummy. El HaTahira Mechal Shehi Tameya. So the fact that it says by the menorah, it can become tamei, pshita kli madchas ninhu. Kli madchas mekabel tuma. We know obviously metal is shaykh to become tamei. So what's the chiddush? Of course it's possible. I can understand there's a chiddush by the shulchan, but there's no chiddush by the menorah. When it came to the menorah, it mamish was tar, as we said, it came from the Shemayim. Shiyardu masem makam tahira. That's what it means. That it mamish came from the Shemayim. Tanya, Rabbi Yosef, Rabbi Yehuda, Aimer, Aron shel Eish. There's an Aron which was made from fire. The Shulchan shel Eish. The Shulchan was of fire. The menorah shel Eish. Yardu ben Shemayim. They all came from the heavens. V'ra Moshe v'yasa k'moisem. This way, Moshe was able to actually see them in the midbar to be able to figure out exactly how they should be made in the Mishkan. Shnem v'ra Yisa v'yasa kesav nisam. and he made it just like their structure, Asherat Tomara Bahar, as it was seen at Har Sinai. El Miyata Vakamosas, a Mishkan Kamishbatoi, that you should build a Mishkan like its proper laws, Asher Harisa Bahar, so Hachinami, Hachinami. So you're going to tell me the same thing, that in the Mishkan, the whole Mishkan came for him to see? No, Hacha Ksiv Kamishbato. All it says it's laws. Hasam Ksiv Kisav Nisam, in their likeness, which is more clear that he mamish saw it with his own eyes. Those three things. Again, the Shulchan, the Menorah, and the Aron. Why not the Mizbeach? It's an interesting question. Maybe that was less, that was like a more common thing, with bombas and stuff like that. But these other items were much more unique. Amar Rabbi Rabbi Yochanan, Gavriel, Chogur Kamin Pesikya Haya. So Gavriel was girdled up in an apron. As Rashi says, Shiraitzim Lasayis Malacha Na, he wanted to do like some work. So Chagurin Atzman, he girded himself Shlihe Nigroim Bigdehem. So his garments shouldn't get dragged. Haya. V'hir Lola Moshe Ma'aseh Menayra. And then Malach Gavriel showed him the Ma'aseh Menayra. D'chsiv v'zeh Ma'aseh HaMenayra. So Tana Ber Mishmol. Shlosh Devarim Hayu Kashel Moshe. There are three things that were difficult for Moshe. Ad Shihara Loi Kodesh Baruch Hu Betz Ba'i. It was shown literally with Hashem's finger. Ve'elu Hain. You would think it would be Menorah, Shulchan, and Aron. So this is interesting. Why was the Shulchan and the Aron shown if it wasn't something which was difficult to Moshe? It's an interesting shaila. But nonetheless, there was three things. What are the three things? This is question 14. This is question TA8, TB11. It's just these are obvious questions. What were the three? The Menorah, Rosh Chodesh. It's like, what's hard about Rosh Chodesh? And Shratzim. And the laws of Shratzim. Says Rashi, Lo hay makar ezet tam ezet tahar. He didn't know like what's tamei, what's tahar, right? So that he wanted to know like which Shratzim are tamei and which are tahar. Rosh Chodesh, Rashi says, B'shas moiled levina, at the new sign of the new moon, enu niris ki'im ma'at. You can only see it a little bit. Enu nikaris, and it wasn't so recognizable to him. So as it mentions in Masechtas Rosh Hashanah, Kazeri Isem, Im Kazeri Isem. It's like you have to have Eidos to be able to testify that you saw the new moon, and we want to make sure that it's exactly the right time and everything like that. So it's a little bit complex for Moshe Rabbeinu. So Menorah dichsev zeh ma'aseh Menorah, because it says the word zeh. Rosh Chodesh dichsev hachodesh hazeh lachem. Rosh Chodashim and Shratzim dichsev zeh lachem hatami. V'yesharmim, some add a fourth of hilchos shchita. So he didn't exactly know where the makom shchita is. Shnemer v'zeh asher tasa al hamizbeach. Okay, so anytime it says the word zeh, it's like I'm pointing it to you. If you look at Taisus over here, v'yesh l'temua, v'li chashiv maxas a shekel. Why isn't the maxas a shekel mentioned? Ksiv zeh yitnu kimin matbeh shel eish hirola Moshe. We know that it's brought down in Shkolim, in Medrash and Shkolim, that Hashem showed him the maxas a shekel. Why isn't that in the list? Yeshleim b'doi shayach hasam niskasha. We can't mention it was difficult. Elo mishum doi havi yoda b'shum inyan imlo hayim. It's only something that he would not have any idea if it was not shown to him. In other words, a coin, he could at least have some idea. But exactly what is an aron, what is a shulchan, what is menorah, these are new concepts, so that was something which he had to be shown. Okay. Okay. This is interesting. Taisus above. Okay. So let's keep moving. Shtei parashiyos b'mezuzah ak zu at zu. So it's necessary that you have the Shema and V'hoim Shema in your mezuzah. So one paragraph just doesn't work. You have to have both. And then it says b'fil kasav echad ma'akvin. Even if you, as we read and we explained in the Mishnah, if you're missing one letter, so that's ma'akiv. So pshita, we know it. You can't be missing anything. So We know that it's ma'akev, right? It says uksavtem, as Rashi says ksivatama, has to be complete. So what's the chiddush? Amar Rabbi Yehuda, Amar Rav, l'nitzrucha el kutza shel yud. Even the point on the letter yud, Rashi says regel yamini shel yud, the small little part, the point of the letter, the right point of the letter yud. If that's missing, it's also a problem. Avanami pshita, right? Because it's not the proper letter. It has to be not just not missing letter. It's got to be an actual letter the way it's supposed to be. El keidach de Rabbi Yehuda Amar Rav. Rabbi Yehuda Amar Rav kol oish in gavil mukaf la mi'arbaroi chayseh psula. That each letter has to have parchment surrounding it on all four sides. So therefore, if it's like touching another letter, right, even the slightest amount, then that's a problem. Oh, fine. So that's what it means. So Amr Ashin bar Nadvach Mishmei Rabbi Yehuda was saying the name of Rabbi Yehuda following Nikav Toichai Shel Hey. If you look at the letter Hey, and there's a hole of some small amount on the left side. You have the Hey, so the not the long, if you will, resh, or the up and the down part, but the small left side of it, there's a hole, kosher. But if it's the right side, the long part of the hay, if there's a hole in that, then puzzle. So doesn't really elaborate why, but that's what he says. Yorecho is regel hayimanis. Rashi does on the right side. With tefillin kamayri. Here we're talking about the tefillin, even though we were talking about mezuzah before. Okay, ayin Rashi. All right, so he makes a distinction between that. So Rav Zeh l'didi mafar sheli mina the Rav Huna Rav Yaakov l'didi mafar sheli mina the Rav Yehuda. This is how he explained it. Nikav toichai shel hay. If let's say again there's a hole on the left side of the hay, kosher. Arichai, when it comes to the right side, it's not just straight up puzzle. It depends. Im nishtayerbo kashir ois katana. If there's still remaining the amount of the smallest letter, the letter yud, kosher milav, puzzle. So if there was a hole in the outer right leg, but above the hole, part of the leg remained attached to the top, and it is at least the size of the smallest letter yud, then the hay is and the letter hay is going to be kosher. So even if there's a little crack, it doesn't mean it's totally puzzle. It's got to at least have a small amount above it connected to the top. Okay. Agra Chamua de Rav Abba, as we continue to Chavtes Amud Beis. Ifsika le kaira de hay. There was a hole in the letter of the hay at the bottom of the letter. And again, Rashi says this is referring to tefillin. It's interesting why he keeps saying it's tefillin. We're talking about mezuzah. Okay. Da'am benikva. So again, there was this hole in this letter. Also, committed Rav Abba Malay im nishtayer by kashir ois katana kasher mima apostle, which is basically what we said before. Okay, so Rami bar Tamri, the Havi Chamua, the Rami bar Dikuli. So we hear his yichus. Ifsika le kara devav divit yevihareg. In the word vihareg, it was missing the vav in that word, and well, at least in that word is benikva. There was like some crack or some hole in that letter. So I was going to be the Rab Zera Amalei Zil Isi and Nuka. This is like the famous. Everyone thinks this is what you always do. If the Torah is completely puzzled, no, but you can show it to a Yunuka Dolichachvo Tipesh. He's not too smart, not dumb. What does that mean? Says Rashi, because if he's smart, di chacham maven, he'll understand. Shemit charev hu loimer yahareg klapi malav yomer v'yahareg, right? Because it could be read as Hashem killed, or it could be read that Hashem was killed, right? This is referring to all the firstborn. So obviously, if he's a chacham, he's going to know the proper way of reading it, and he'll know. He may not give you the right interpretation. In ikar v'hareg kosher. Oh, one second. So again, if he's a chacham, he's not going to give a great answer. And if he's a tipesh, he doesn't know how to read anyway. So it's not going to help you. You got to have someone who's like in between. So ikar via hareg kosher. If he says the word via hareg, then it's kosher, which means Hashem killed. Ilo yahareg hu upasul. However, if instead it's written, let's see how it says over here, via hareg, right, that Hashem was killed, right, then it would be pasul. So let's see the different gears over here. If you look at Taisus, the lo yahareg hu pasul yeshul daktik mikan dechsiv the yahareg chaser below vav. It doesn't have a vav there. Okay. Anyway, so there are certain eitzes that sometimes you'll ask the katan and he'll be able to tell you is what the letter is, right? So if he has a limited amount of knowledge, then that's the kid to ask. There's always like a humorous thing, like you ask a kid, come, and like everyone comes like, wow, it must be such an honor, but the truth is, it means you're not a chacham, right? If you're a chacham, they wouldn't have asked you. So maybe Yehuda Amarav Mishashal Moshe Lamarim, when Moshe went up to the heavens, Hashem was actually sitting and tying crowns and putting crowns on some of the letters. Mima akev al yadcha, who is literally holding you back. Says Rashi, Masha kasavta, what you wrote, shiat tzarech lo hasiv oid alehim ksarim. Like what's the purpose of adding these crowns? Like you already have the words, we can read the words, we know what the words are. What is the added benefit of having crowns on some of these letters? So Adam echad yesh yasid liyos b'saif Kamaditis. There's actually going to be a person who, in future generations, by the name of Akiva ben Yosef Shemo, Shiyasa Lidrush al kol kites v'kites. He's going to look at all the crowns in these letters, and he'll be tilin shel halachos. He's going to end up putting deriving numerous halachos from each of these crowns. All of them are going to have some great symbolism and significance. So even though you don't understand it, that doesn't mean the next generation is not going to understand it. Hey, Ruhuli, why don't you show me the significance? Chazer le'acharecha, go afterwards. So Hoylech, he went. The Yoshev b'seif shmeina shuras, and he was sitting 8 rows back. V'lo haya yodea mahu aimrim. So Moshe didn't understand what was going on over there. So Tashash Kaicha, he started feeling bad. Kivan shigil davar echad. Once he reached this one matter, Amru lo Talmid, of a student said, Rabbi, minayin locha, how do you know this? Amru lahen, halach Moshe Sinai. This is Rabbi Akiva. That's halach Moshe Sinai. So at that point, so Moshe began to feel better. So he didn't really necessarily, of course, it's not, it may be more homiletic, whether this is exactly the truth, that he went in the future, right, into a future generation, but he was able to, on one hand, say, I don't know anything compared to these people. Or he felt bad because he recognized that maybe they're not really embracing what I know, and all of a sudden, no, halach Moshe Sinai. So they are connected to the past. So he felt better. So Chazer Ravol of Nekodesh Baruch, he went back. There's a great man like this. Yata nice and Torah al Yadi. Understand? You have Rabbi Akiva. Why give the Torah to me? Give it to this great guy. Shasuk. Silence. Kach olbo machshava lofanai. This is the machshava. This is what I decided, that you're going to get the Torah. So Armul lefon Rabbeinu Shalom. Harisani Torosenu. Show me your Torah. Hareini Sechari, and show me the reward. Go back. He saw that Rabbi Akiva, what was his reward? That he was his flesh, as the Gemara in Brachos and Tav Samachal, the 9th parak, says he was punished for the treacherous sin of teaching Torah Barabim. And he was caught, and he was killed for that in a very graphic way of tearing his flesh. I understand this guy is one of the greater than me, and this is his reward. This is my machshava, right? So again, you don't understand why I do things. You don't understand why I chose you to accept the Torah, and you don't understand the reason why he's being punished, or not even punished. You don't understand why this great man, something like that happens. So again, this is an interesting point of why do bad things happen to good people, and Hashem says, shetoik, silence. Kach ol b'machshava lefanai. This is my machshava, right? So you can't look too deeply into what Hashem does. Amar Rava, shiva oisiyos srichos shloisha zivunin. So we're talking about crowns. So there's actually 7 letters that we require that, which are gimel tagin katanim, small letters, b'chol achas b'shin. Regel hasmoilus, v'chein be'ein b'regel hapanimi, v'chein kulam v'oisim gimel tagin echad noitli min. So Rashi says one leans a little bit to the right, almost looks like a shin on the top of each letter of these letters. One tilts to the left, and then one goes up, right? So that's what it is, and you can see this Zion, the bottom one. It says perish oy perish yesh yosin shlosh l'mala kazeh. Okay, ksib b'shimusha rabbi mashma toshlet toitl tatafo sricha gimel ziyunin. Okay, so anyway, that's what the Zion demonstrates in this Taisus. That's 3 crowns. Ve'elhin Shatnez gaze. So Shatnez gaze sounds like Shatnez, right? But it's actually an acronym for us to remember these letters. And Rashi says, "V'huadin what tzadik kafufa or nun pshuta." The truth is, there's a couple other letters, the tzadik and a nun, a regular nun, and a tzadik kafufa, or tzadik sofit. So they also have. That's what it says here. It's Shatnez gates. So one is the tzadik sofit, but Rashi says also the tzadik kafufa and the nun pshut. Okay, Amar Ravashi chazin lahu sifrei devanki. I saw among the scribes, says Rashi, shemedaktikin lasos ksav b'yusher, that these people are very particular in the ksav of Safros. The Beirav, the chatri luhu legagi the ches, that when it comes to the letter ches, says Rashi, legago shel ches, the roof of the ches, oisin lamala, it's made up, kamin choiter kazeh. So it's made, you can see that it pops up just a little bit. The left side, it kind of goes up. Kolomer HaKadosh Baruch Hu Chai Sheichin B'mroimoi She'olam, that Hainu Chai. So it's almost like a little yud at the very top. V'toyobo Likari de Hey. And it's hung also by the leg of the hay. Regel Hapnimi Shel Hey Toli Ba'avir. That's hanging. The Enu Dovok Legagoi. So we know that the left side of the letter Hey is just hanging. There's not connected, because otherwise it would be a chet, right? So it's interesting. Now it's like the distinction between a chet, which goes all the way up, and then a hey. So what does that mean? So the fact that you have this, the way it's written, with this little point, it's almost like that chai, that we will live with the Kadosh Baruch Hu. But tolule would carry the hay. What is the reason why the bottom of the hay is disconnected? What does it mean when the pasuk says Bidchu b'Hashem adiyad ki b'ka Hashem sur alamim? So what do we learn out from the word b'ka? So amrulei kol hatoyla kol hatoyla b'tachnush, anyone who is hanging on his own faith. HaKadosh Baruch Hu hari loy b'chasem b'oyam hazel haba. So in other words, if you're gonna believe that you have complete faith in yourself, says Rashi, Havile Machase, Dahainu Hachi Mashmak al Shibodchu Hashem. If you have betachin rather on Hashem, Havilehem Be Hashem Machsat Sur Moizel Lomim. Aimule Ana Hakika Kasha. This is my caution. My Shna Dichsiv Bika Vogsiv Ka. Why is there a base in that pasuk? So Kedidarish Rabbi Huda bar Rabbi Eloi. There's two worlds that Hashem created. Echad be'oyam hazeh, echad be'oyam haba. So that's what it says, bika, right? So if you're bidchu b'Hashem adiyad, then kibika Hashem sur olamim. That you in this world and the world to come. The v'niyodea im oyam haba b'yud. However, in these two letters, I don't know if Olam Haba is the Yud and Olam Hazeh is Behei. Im Olam Hazeh Beheyud, Olam Haba Behei. Like, which one is it corresponding to? There's Bika, so Bet is two, and you have a Yud and a Hey, those two letters. The question is, which one's Olam Hazeh, which Olam Haba? Because Yomer, Elo Todos Hashmayim Ba'aretz, and then it says Bihivaram, so it says the Beis, and it says the Hey, when it was created, Al Tikri Bihivaram Ella Behei Baram. With a Hey, it was created. Havi Omer, Om Hazeh Behei. Om Hazeh is the Hey. Olam Haba is Biyud. Okay. I mean, Man Nivra Olam Hazeh Behei. So why Hashem chose that this world would be created with the letter Hey? It's considered to like this room. If you want to go out, you can go out, right? So you can leave from the bottom, right? You can just escape from the bottom of the letter. If you're in this imaginary world, which is the letter Hey, so the bottom is completely open, you can just sin and fall right down. My taima tali kari. So then why is it hanging on the left? If you want, you could do tshuva, right? And you could do tshuva by coming back, right? You can, by going inside above the left part, which is an opening, so you can go through that opening. You can fall to the bottom, but you can also come right back. So that's a symbolism of the letter Hey. So what's the difference? Have it filled up like a ches, and just as you came down, come back up in the same way. So no, lo mistayim milsa. You won't be able to just come back the same way that you fell. If you're late, if you're hanging out with late, you're gonna be a scoffer. However, if you're humble, you have graciousness. It says that if you're tahar, Hashem will help you. However, if you're someone who's going to become tummy, then it will be a wider opening for you to be able to fall. So basically, in order for you to be able to get through, you need extra help. So the opening is much larger to fall. You have a smaller opening, but with Hashem's help, you can get in there. So my taima isle taga. So why is there a crown at the top of the letter Hey? If you do tshuva, then I will make a kesher in front of you. Says Rashi Lehei keser katan b'soiv gagu dehei. So man nivra ha'olam haba b'yud. So again, this world was created with the letter Hey, and the olam haba was created with the letter Yud. Mipnei shetzadikim shiboi muatim. Because there's not so many tzaddikim, unfortunately, in the Olam Haba, and therefore it's Yud, it's small. The people who get to Olam Haba is small. Then Nima Kofof, Roishai. So why is the letter Yud bent? Why isn't it just? Why isn't it straight up? So Mipnei shetzadikim shabai Kofof Roshayim. They bend down. Because one's actions is not comparable to the others, which basically means that they feel humbled when they see someone greater than them, or themselves, they're humble, so they'll act like a yud. A yid is what a yid. Rav Yosef, Hani Tarti Mili Rav. There's two things that he said. Besvarim regarding Dinam Sefer Torah. Vatani Tiyufta Chada, there was a Tiyufta. Chada Hadiyam Rav, Sefer Torah Shish by shtei tiyos. B'chol daf daf. If you have a daf on a Sefer Torah, there's 2 mistakes. So yiskin, you can fix it. Sholosh yiganis. If there's 3, that's too much already. You can't fix it. But tani tiyufta, there's actually a tiyufta on that. Sholosh yiskin. 3 letters you can fix. Arbi yignas. So it's a tiyufta. So tani im yesh boy daf acha shlema matzelas al kulo. However, if let's say you have a completely fine daf, that could save the others. Says Rashi. Shiafilu, even if it would be that tiyos b'chol daf daf, if there's mistakes on all the other pages, az matzalos alehem hach daf shleimo miskin. So the fact that you have one good daf, that could fix up everything, which is the same idea. Like you have one good thing, it could fix up a lot of bad. Rav Yitzchak bar Shmuel bar Marsa mishmei Rav, v'hu dichsiv rubi de sifra shaper. That's only if the majority of the Sefer is written properly. What if this perfect page actually does have 3 errors? Because since you could fix it, because there's only 3 mistakes, you could fix it. The time that we make these exceptions of 3, 4 is only because you're missing a letter, right? You're missing a letter, and therefore you need to squeeze that extra letter in, right? You need to squeeze the missing letter in. So that's when we're more particular. However, the other way around, we use serois leislanba, right? Like to erase, basically, to erase an extra letter, that we don't care as much. Now, the question is why? What's the difference? They're both mistakes. So, leislanba. So, b'chaseris my time aloi yomarav hanam yishum the mixi kamenumer. Because if you have all these places where you're squeezing in letters, it looks like spotted and speckled. It doesn't look as nice. So he had a bunch of extra letters in his Sefer Torah. As we said, the whole issue of having a bunch of mistakes is only a problem if there's missing letters, you have to cram them in. However, if, as we said, that all you're doing is erasing them or scraping them, as Rashi says, then that's not as much of an issue. Okay, we're going to stop there. Ad kan.